Time for Campaign Chronicles then. Tonight, it is the big test, really, for presidential candidates François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy. They're going to face off in their one and only head-to-head television debate before the final vote on Sunday. So what can we expect? Well, Elena Casas here to tell us what on earth's in store for us, Elena. You're going to be watching, aren't you, even though you have to get up very, very early the next day?
Of course I'm going to be watching, and you can watch on France 24, of course, in English as well. And here on the front page of Le Parisien, they've got the strategies to win the debate. So they've talked to the two candidates' campaign teams. The Hollande team admit they're feeling a little bit nervous. Of course, he's still way ahead in the polls, 7 points ahead in today's polls, but it's Sarkozy who's expected to win the debate. He's the one known as being articulate, as being punchy, being really pugnacious with this kind of situation. And Hollande's team admit they've had their man in training. He's not had many campaign rallies and things in the last week, just so that he can concentrate on tonight's debate, on getting everything together, getting himself ready. Now, his weakness really is that he's inclined to be too intellectual, to go into things at too great length and kind of lose his audience. And his big strength, they reckon, is his sense of humour, that he is the one who can make the audience laugh, not something Sarkozy's quite so good at. So he's going to work, I suppose, on getting some good jokes in there. Sarkozy's team say that their candidate is zen. They say he's not been doing all the training that Hollande has. He's a natural in front of the TV. He is known, of course, for being good at this kind of exercise. So the real pitfall for him is that he can fall into the trap of bits coming across as too arrogant and too aggressive, and that, it doesn't really endear one to voters. He's expected to really go for an attacking line tonight, really go for Hollande's jugular on issues that will win over far-right voters especially. That's Hollande's plans to give immigrants living in France the right to vote in municipal elections, his plan to allow some immigrants who've lived here for a long, long time to regularise themselves, to get French papers, that kind of thing. The far-right voters are not keen on, so that Sarkozy is going to go for a big attacking line on those sorts of issues. He is, of course, as I said, known for being aggressive and known for being quite pugnacious in these kinds of debates. Ségolène Royal, who's interviewed by Le Parisien, who, of course, was the socialist candidate back in 2007, she fell foul of that rather and was generally considered to have lost their debate this time 5 years ago because she was caught rather on the back foot by his attacking tactics. Let's take a look.
No, I won't calm down.
Don't point your finger at me like that.
No, I won't calm down. I won't calm down.
To be President of the Republic, you've got to be calm.
Had you prepared that?
No, because I didn't know that subject would come up. What I learned was that when a man is indignant and gets angry, we say that he's virile. If it's a woman, we're condescending. We say that she's lost her nerve.
Ségolène Royal there accusing Sarkozy of having been sexist during that debate, but that, of course, is the kind of thing Hollande is looking to avoid above all, letting Sarkozy get him on the back foot like that, get in a killer line. Of course, there's also one of the pitfalls for Sarkozy in that clip, which is that he was really very condescending towards Royal during that debate. Perhaps that's because she was a woman, but he's known to do that with a lot of other people as well, so he'll be wanting to avoid that tonight.
Now, the other bizarre thing is, we saw a little bit about this a little bit earlier on the programme, that the debate has to take place with some really, really strict and some would say bizarre rules, doesn't it?
Yes, Libération is explaining this in a bit more detail today. Now, they apparently say that there's already been a row between the two campaign teams over who should be behind the camera in this debate. Apparently, the man who'll be directing the Hollande team is worried that he's a Sarkozy sympathiser. So they've had a row about that. They also talk about some of the camera angles that are allowed in this debate, which are extremely limited. Cameras not allowed to film what the reactions of the candidates while their opponents putting a question to them, in case they look too sort of caught off guard. Also, the teams have banned some specific angles. Sarkozy's team will not allow him to be filmed in profile, because of his nose, and the Hollande team don't want any angles that zoom in on his hairline too much, because of where it's receding.
I know the problem.
So, well, at least you sympathise. But more seriously, inside Libération, they look at what the candidates really think of one another. Of course, these two men have been, as the papers say, best enemies for decades, and they know each other very well. But for Hollande, Sarkozy, they say, is the absolute epitome of everything he hates in politics. A man for whom the end is everything, for whom getting power is everything, who's quite happy to change his position to keep people happy. Hollande really sees himself as a man of principle, against that kind of politician. Whereas for Sarkozy, Hollande just doesn't have the stature to be president. That's what he hopes to flag up, according to his team. For him, Hollande is weak, Hollande is vague. He's just not the man who can make the right decisions in the really top job. But will this actually change the outcome of what voters think? That's another thing that they're asking. They've got a poll saying only 11% of people say they're likely to be swayed in any way by tonight. And studies carried out over previous debates, this goes back to 1974, this tradition, says that voters have very rarely changed their opinion. By now, they've pretty much decided. There's 4 days to go. There was one incident, though, back in 74, where Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, up until now, has always said that it was one killer line that he landed during the debate that he reckons won him the election. Let's take a look.
You don't have a monopoly on people's hearts, Mr. Mitterrand. I have a heart like yours which beats at its own rhythm. You don't have a monopoly on that. I instinctively got angry when Mitterrand started off on how he represented a category of unhappy classes in French society.
Valéry Giscard d'Estaing there reminiscing about the killer blow that he reckons won him the election against François Mitterrand in 1974. By their next confrontation in 1981, though, Mitterrand had learned a thing or two about TV debating.
You keep using the same line as 7 years ago, calling me the man of the past. It's funny that in the interim you've become the man of the passive.
Yeah, Francois Mitterrand there. It's not going to be the first time, is it, that Hollande and Sarkozy have met over the debating table?
It's certainly not. Les Echos is looking back at some of their previous TV clashes. First time they faced off was in October 1998, apparently, when Hollande was head of the Socialist Party, Nicolas Sarkozy number 2 of the then right-wing coalition, the RPR. Now, that debate was one that Sarkozy was widely held to have won. Even back then, 13 years ago, he was focusing on issues like the law and order and security that have since become his trademark. And Hollande, on the other hand, was accused at that occasion of being too bureaucratic, being too much like a civil servant, going too much into detail that doesn't interest ordinary viewers. They did then confront each other again over the same TF1 set in May 1999 during the European elections of that year, when they were both leading their respective parties' candidate lists for the European elections. That time round, it was Hollande who was said to have won, and indeed Hollande's party that got nearly twice as many votes as Sarkozy's in those European elections. Why? Well, because Sarkozy fell into the trap that time round of being too condescending, too patronising, talking down to his opponent, and that didn't go down very well with TV viewers. So we'll see really in this election which one of them comes out on top. Sarkozy, as we were saying, has absolutely nothing to lose, so he's like to go on a very attacking line. But if Hollande just sits back and takes the blows, that could be a mistake for him. He's got to show he's got some substance, some kind of fighting spirit in there as well.
So just to remind you, that debate will be live on France 5 at 9 p.m. Paris time this evening, so watch that if you want to. And, of course, we'll have all the reaction to it and a little bit of a flavour of what happened the night before on tomorrow's Live from Paris. So join us for that if you can. Lena, thank you very much. That's just about it from us. Jeannie's here with the latest news very shortly.
May 6th, the French will elect their future president. Will it be François Hollande or Nicolas Sarkozy? Join the world's leading French media group and get live second-round presidential election news. France 24, Monte Carlo Doualia and RFI bring you special coverage. Join our political experts and guests. Find out first, right here, who France's next president will be. Our correspondents report live from candidates' headquarters and the world's capitals. Our news staff is on the move for you. Join France 24, Monte Carlo Doualia and RFI. Get the election news first, no matter where it happens.